Hey everybody, I wanted to make a short video today. I wanted to talk about a little bit about the virus and how you're all doing, as well as what's going on for me. And then I would like to do another 10 things that are selling really well right now. And of course, I don't have most of these things for sale because I did not have a lot of foresight in this area. I instead I worked on plans to get our house ready and get us ready for staying at home. I did not give enough thought to my business. So I kind of wanted to backtrack a little tiny bit. In my first video, I did an introduction of myself, and I really thought about going back and deleting it and creating a fresh one. But I really don't like to dirty delete things, so I'm going to leave it up. But I did want to kind of backtrack a tiny bit and cover a couple of small things that I think I missed. So one of the reasons that I thought that this was a good idea, making these videos, was because I had been at least selling again or selling for the first time for me on Poshmark for over a year. I think it's been about a year and a half now. And I was doing really well and across all platforms. I was doing pretty well when you added them all up. So between, Mercari, I haven't actually sold anything. I don't know if I have things priced too high or if it's just that I don't have things people are looking for or what exactly, but across all platforms. So Facebook Marketplace, in-person sales, the eBay sales, the Poshmark sales, etc. I had gotten to a point where I was doing well enough that for a part-time job, and really putting part-time hours into it, I haven't been really, pushing myself hard. I've been doing some other things at the same time and focusing, kind of splitting my focus on both things. So anyway, so I'd gotten to a point where I thought, okay, well, I'm doing pretty well at this. I'm making enough profit a month that it's probably safe for me to start documenting this journey, and hopefully it will continue to grow. I was doing about 1,500 to 2,000 a month, and I was pretty comfortable with that number. That was for me, that was a pretty good starting number for a first year of a business. And I thought that this is a good place to go. So then I wanted to do the videos because I wanted to document for myself, but also for others, that this is kind of how starting works, right? Like there's a learning curve. And some people, especially younger people, I feel like come into it with a lot more knowledge because they grew up with access to a lot of this technology. Whereas, the first time that I did reselling was back in the late 90s and early aughts, as my husband calls it. And, I was really excited to use eBay and I loved using it. I had a good time with it. But it was a lot of things really were more manual then. So, there was no smartphones to take pictures and upload things or scan things and find things out right away. You really kind of had to know what you were doing. And so when I was doing hard sales, hard items at that time, it was small sort of household items and vintagey jewelry, as well as pottery and things like that I knew about, right? Things that I know. And that's where I started. And that was, long ago. So I feel as though when people ask me, well, when did you start reselling? That the appropriate answer is within the last year and a half, 2 years. Well, it's been a year and a half. It hasn't been 2 years yet. And that because now there's so much more technology. I can do so much more with just my cell phone. I can find out more when I'm out on the opportunities that I have to go sourcing. I can find out more with my phone, or even through others, than much easier than I could before. I remember, a long time ago being at some kind of auction and checking things out, and I phoned a friend, basically. I phoned a friend and said, hey, there's this thing at this auction that I really am thinking about buying, but I know nothing about this. I know that you do. What should I be looking for? And then got a quick 10-minute crash course in the item that I was interested in picking up. And what I learned in that was that the item I was looking at was not the valuable item that I should be looking to pick up, but there was another item just a couple of, tables down that I did end up grabbing that turned out to be a very good profit. So anyway, so I feel like the whole way of doing business is much different than the way that I've done it before. I'm sure that some folks that have been here the whole time, or that have done it for a long time, like Lonnie with Garage Flips. I don't actually think I know how long Blue Bus Dave has been doing it, but folks that appear as though they've been doing it for a long time and have lots of knowledge under their belt. I feel like they've been in it the whole time, whereas I hopped out. I did it for quite a while, and I had a little flea market stall that I would put things in, the things that I did not want to ship through eBay. And then I had my eBay store, and then I had basically word of mouth, and I did that for a small number of years. And then I stopped just because my partner at the time was very mobile with his work. He went from contract to contract, and so we went from place to place, and it didn't make sense to try and keep up a stall in a place where I would only get to go to once a month, or once every 2 months maybe in some instances. And so I stopped selling then, and I haven't been back to it until within the last year and a half. And so many things in my mind have changed, right? Like it may very well be that it really has stayed the same, but the technology and the things that we're able to do now seem so much different to me. And I feel like I'm learning all over again. So I kind of felt like it was an opportune time to document this kind of learning curve as I'm experiencing it for other people, because I do, even in talking in real life, I have friends that say, oh, I don't know how you do that, because I want to do that, but I can't imagine even getting started. And to me, not that it's easy, this isn't easy, but to me, this seems like a thing that all of us can do, which is what I was trying to say in my first video, is that if someone like me, who lives on a farm and doesn't drive and lives in rural America, is able to do this, then anyone can do it. You just have to be creative in how you go about it, and what you pick up, and what you're going to resell, and your sources and things like that. You just have to be creative. And I think that is a valuable thing for people to see someone doing. Most of the videos that I have seen of people have been people that are already madly successful, and they're making it work, and then you see how they're making it work once they've already begun to do it. So I am doing this kind of from scratch, really. Now I will say, since the virus has kicked in, my sales have plummeted. I had this past week, I had 2 sales. One was a big car sale, a game sale, and the other one was a small skirt sale, like, I don't know, $12, $14. So and I will try to put the car one on the screen. I think I know how now. I think I figured that out. So, but so I sold the car game for $100, and then I sold the skirt for $14, and that's been this week, really. I did sell a pair of leggings today, for another $10. Um, so, that's fine with me. But right now, the virus is, giving people pause. And I did not, as I mentioned before, I did not self-prepare for this particular thing as it comes to my business. If I had been thinking about my business when I was focused on our house and our needs personally, I would have ordered then, one of the pallets of HBAs, or I would have gotten a pallet of toys, or I would have gotten a pallet of books, right? Like, those are the kinds of things that I would have sourced in the couple of weeks when I first started these videos and I was doing pretty well. So, I did not focus on those things. I was worried about getting my son an extra pair of contacts, and getting us the things that we would need to be able to work from home for the couple of weeks. So anyway, so for right now, things are a little bit changed. This week I did start, I had a whole bunch. I had two small tubs downstairs of toys that I had left over from fourth quarter that I needed to list and I hadn't gotten to. So this week I've actually been loading those toys and slowly listing them on eBay and then over on my local marketplace and things like that. So I have, I'm now getting back into the swing of things, but I'm behind the curve at this point. There are lots of people who have realized that puzzles and books and crafty things are selling. So, but that doesn't matter to me. I'm still going to put my things out there, right? Because there's certainly enough room to go around. So anyway, so that's what I kind of wanted to focus on in terms of like how things are changing a little bit with the virus. And then I wanted to just list the another 10 items. And some of them may be duplicates. I can't quite remember the list. I should have written them down or brought my list with me that I wrote down last time that I was reading off of, but this time I didn't do that. I put it in my office. So anyway, so puzzles, books. I've noticed that, and the list I'm coming up with now, this is not just off the top of my head. This is actually things that friends and family who know that I'm in reselling or have begun to do that have approached me and said, hey, do you know of a good place to get this? Or, this is what I'm looking for, or my kid wants this. So, books, puzzles, craft items, anything related to knitting, crochet, yarns, the crochet hooks, looms, knitting looms, anything having to do with small weaving, doing shawls and things like that. Anything having to do with other hobbies, right? Fishing and fishing lures. I think I covered that in the other list. So fishing and fishing lures. I know that some of my friends have asked about that. The books, several people have asked me about romance books right now. So Harlequins and Silhouettes and some of those old school ones. But also for those of us that like nonfiction, I'm also seeing an uptick in people who are reading a lot of nonfiction, a lot of relationship books, a lot of coping books, things like that. Coping with mental stress books, right? Like, things like that. Anything having to do with gardening books, how to build raised beds, what to plant in what season. I know that most of us have easy access to all of this information, but folks really like having hardcovers to also have available just in case, and so that they can easily go back and reference it. So, cookbooks and gardening books and um, food, anything related to food storage right now are selling very well. Anything related to hobbies, the people that are doing the miniatures and the games and things like that, miniature painting, the one of my friends is taking this time to build out her steampunk wardrobe. So anything that has to do with fabrics or anything steampunky, clock pieces, watch pieces, anything like that, old spectacles, especially the Victorian ones, those are selling pretty well from what I understand right now, based on my friends who do the steampunk, because I travel in steampunk circles. So there have been a lot of talk about that. Hair pieces. I saw someone talking about how they were looking for braided hair pieces and that they were very interested in obtaining some of those. So I would assume that wigs would be along the same line, but again, for cosplay or whatever, people that are building out costumes for, future cons, because right now we're kind of in a, sometimes people have hobbies that aren't just, like the steampunk crowd. A lot of those people just aren't just steampunk. They're theater nerds. They're folks that really do just enjoy the dress up and doing it to the T. So anything related to that, anything that has to do with home improvement. I've got a couple of friends who are taking this time to refurbish furniture. And so they're using, different paints they wouldn't normally use, and they're getting stencils online, and they're picking up furniture pieces, pretty cheap online, things like that. So, anything related to what you could think about being at home, right? Because most of us are at home. And so anything having to do with that train of thought. My husband has mentioned a couple of times about music. So I know that he and another friend actually also mentioned it. So there's two right there in casual conversation, that they were looking to round out some of their music collections of their favorites, things they hadn't picked up in the last couple of years, of their favorite bands that they were looking to pick up. So things like that. I already on a previous video covered games, but someone mentioned to me again about an older Nintendo. So, if you've got some of the older Nintendos and the PlayStations and things like that, and you've got a ton of games, now's the time to list whether you're bundling them or whatnot. So, movies and videos and wall art. And I'm actually thinking of this about my son was looking at a piece of wall art earlier and asking if he could have something in his room. He already has a couple of things in his room, but he was specifically looking for something else. So, but anyway, so things, things like that, things that kind of allow you to redecorate your space and rejuvenate it. People that have collections. I mentioned in one of the videos about Pyrex, things like the Pyrex and, folks, people that want to round out their collections of specific pieces, the cast iron and things like that, seem to be doing pretty well right now. For many resellers, this seems like it's almost a second, fourth quarter. It's like a bonus fourth quarter, which is wonderful. And I'm so happy. As I mentioned, I am behind the curve on this because I did not plan for this. I just didn't. I put my family first, and I really didn't even dawn on me to focus on this. I just kept thinking, okay, well, if I keep plugging away with listing my clothing and things like that I already do, then that will be good, because I've got I already have a pretty significant money pile full of clothing. So just keep plugging away at that, what I already have, rather than getting something new. But what I should have realized a lot sooner and actually taken action on, because I think I did realize it. I made a note to myself about 3 weeks ago to buy a pallet of toys. And I wish that at the time that I had made the note, I had just simply gone online and, checked out some of the sources that I have for doing that, and would have gone and made the plunge and purchased the pallet of toys. Because while my husband doesn't necessarily want all of my inventory at our house, I would have been prepared for this. So, so I'm a little behind the curve there, but I'm going to I've got a couple of tubs that I'm going to keep finishing out. I've got I think I've gone through one of them. I've managed to list one of the tubs full of things, and now I've got another tub to go through. So my goal is to get through the second tub of clothing, and there's some Lego sets and things like that, and puzzles, and then switch over to the clothing again. And I think that probably this week I will also look at potentially buying either a case or a pallet for now. But for me, sales are way down. I had the 3 total sales this week, including the one I made today of leggings. And I have some offers out this evening. We'll see how tomorrow looks. Maybe it'll pop up. But so far, this week ending tomorrow, we're at 3 items. So anyway, and I don't want to just stop making videos because it's hard, because I think that's part of the point. Is I really would like to show that these are the hard parts that I've got to work on, figure out, get ahead of the game. And this is what I have to do to make that happen. So I think that if nothing else, the videos will help me do that. So anyway, so that's today's video. That was a quick rambling list of items that you can sell that will definitely be making money if you price them right. And then a little bit more kind of about my history and where I'm coming from and why I consider myself a newish seller. So, and tomorrow's video, I'm going to make a video tomorrow. Tomorrow's video, I'm going to list 30 YouTubers that I have watched and followed for a while now, for quite a while, like probably 2 years, maybe more than that now. No, I guess it would be more. It would be probably 4 years at this point. But I will put up a list. It will be 30 YouTubers. They are not all in the reselling business. I am going to put up people that I think have something that people in the reselling business can learn, even if it doesn't necessarily, if their channel isn't devoted to doing resell. Like one of them that I know I will have on the list for tomorrow is a gent that does buys and sells houses, or buys and rents out houses, and does all of the work himself on them. And I think that that can still pertain to reselling, because there are many instances where you get a thing and then you have to make improvements to it before you can turn around and resell it, whether it's shoes, whether sometimes it's clothes, whether it's, a hard item. And he happens to do it on a larger scale. And, and I do think that just seeing that drive, because that's what ultimately it comes down to, is that you have to have a certain drive. But seeing that drive in this person to this person to this person in their chosen business, I think is one of the things that is very important. So, and I think that you need to also have that in reselling if that's going to be your thing. So anyway, so that's it for today. And I hope that maybe I'll make myself flashcards so I don't ramble quite so much. I seem to ramble a bit. Anyway, so thank you, and I hope you have a good day. Stay healthy, everybody. Thanks. Bye.